Welcome to the Simply
He-
Shed Talk live show. And I've got Andrew here with me. And I think he's got his, there he is. He's got his video connecting up. He's coming to us live from his truck. So we do Shed Talk live anywhere.
Yes, welcome back to another episode. I am coming to you live today from North Florida. I was up here on some business and kind of just got tied up. Anyways, we're here now. Peter, where are you calling from?
I'm one of my offices here, a remote office. And so I was just wanting to talk to you today about a little bit of operations and how everything is going for you guys as far as your shed lots and what you do as far as operations for running a shed lot day to day.
Peter, Peter, you said you're one of your remote offices. Where are you calling from? Okay, I guess his service is not very good. Peter, can you hear us?
Hold on, can you hear me?
Yeah,
It's cutting out a little bit.
we're wanting to know where you're calling from.
Well, I'm calling from my remote office, and we'll leave it at that.
Are you on the water? Can we get guesses?
Oh, that's a possibility, but we'll leave that for everyone to guess.
Okay, I'll have to update you guys later. But today I wanted to talk to you guys about operations and running multiple lots and how that works. Um, I know Peter owns multiple lots. I own multiple furniture stores, and that's kind of what I'm doing up here in North Florida today. On the other side of my camera is one of our stores up here. But kind of talk to you about the operations and running multiple lots, kind of the tips and tricks to it on how that works, the ins and outs of that. Um, but Peter, how many lots do you currently have?
So currently we have 5 physical lots, and then we have 4 of them that have like a salesperson full time. One of them is a remote lot, so it's like a display only, but then we sell off of that.
Okay. I've heard a lot of talk about display onlys. What has your experience been with that versus having, somebody run the lot? What are you seeing it with that?
Yeah, so I've talked to some people who have said that the remote only where they go and they meet the customer at the lot is definitely one of those things where it's been, how can I say, less overhead. You can run it with one person, maybe 2 people at most, but it definitely is a lot better for cost wise. I just don't know what type of an experience that is. But as we get into an online sales model, I see where that could become more beneficial in the long run.
Okay. Hey, not to interrupt you, Peter, but we do have a caller here added to the stage real quick. Welcome to the
Hey,
show.
Lloyd,
Hey guys, how are y'all
uh,
doing?
doing good. How about yourself?
Good.
Doing really well. Doing really well.
Hey, tell us who you are, and if you're not, nervous like Peter is, to tell us where you're calling from. A little about what you do.
Yeah, sure. I'm Lloyd Martin. I'm calling from the little town of Due West, South Carolina, and I work for Westwood Sheds. I'm a sales manager over here, so just take care of trying to get stuff sold.
Okay.
Now, I
How long you been the sale? This How long you been the sales manager there?
Yeah, so I moved here in 2018. And started a sales lot for Westwood in Greenwood, little town of Greenwood, and did that for a couple years. And so I think it would have been around the middle of 2020, right before COVID hit, is when I took over as sales manager here. So since then, that's what I've been doing. So
so I remember Lloyd when Peter Boyle and I came through. I think it was just outside of Greenville, South Carolina. We
yeah,
were up doing I think it was something with the Garage Shed Carport Builder, and then RTO National kind of ran something at the same time. And we were in town. It just happened to stop in a lot that you were uh, filling in for with a sales employee. Not you were hiring a new salesperson there for that location. And I guess that kind of ties right into the operation side of things. You being the sales manager, um, what do you see as the sales manager with the operations? Are you always hiring? Are you always looking for new people, or is it kind of like one of those things once you find somebody, you kind of lock in for a long time?
Well, I prefer to lock in for a long time. That's like that's a much better scenario. But so when you came up, I remember that. And just to, this is not on topic, but Andrew, are you Peter's brother or
I
relate?
am.
Because I see the last name. I see the last name. So
So let
okay.
not to be confused with I am Peter Boyle's brother. I am Peter Miller's friend. But
Yes.
yeah, there's a couple of
I
us
met Peter
Boyles on the thing.
Boyle. Yes. Yeah. Cool.
Yes, I'm the younger brother.
Okay. Yeah. So back to your question, Peter. Um, we obviously when we hire, I like to preferably find somebody that we can put in our store, and they're going to be there a long time. That's optimal. It doesn't always happen that way, but that's so far it's worked out more often than not that way. We
Yeah.
have 11 locations,
Wow.
10 of which are our locations. We manage them. We have a sales rep that is working there, running the location. It's a location manager.
Gotcha.
We call them store managers. Um, and then we would have um, one dealer here. So yeah, that's how
So
we operate. So
got an interesting, I guess, a question on that. We
mhm.
always we have 5 locations, but 4 of them are manned. In some of those locations, we have multiple employees, whether it's salespeople or whether it's a salesperson and a delivery driver that splits between the days and things as far as keeping that. But the operations, um, how they run versus a location that just has one employee that is, stretched kind of to the max, being able to cover 6 days because we do close on Sundays just in our locations. And I know some people will say, "Oh, you should be open on Sundays because that's a big sale day." It's just we believe that if you can close on a Sunday, you give the Lord um, a day that He has said for rest, and I believe it's a good day to go to church and be serving the Lord during that time. That's just my personal preference on that, and that's what we do. But I guess my question would be, with 10 locations that you kind of manage, um, do you have it where you go in and check in on those? Because I know I try to visit all of our locations every so often. Um, and when the operations go, you have different questions that, hey, can I take off for this time or different things? How do you manage that just in your 10 different locations? Or if you don't mind,
Yeah,
saying.
yeah, sure. No problem. So it can be a challenge, but we have what we also have a role we call sales assistant. So it's one person that will cover multiple locations 1 day a week. So
Okay.
that would give the sales reps, the managing sales rep, 1 day every week where they can check out and do what they need to do around home. Now we're only open 6 days a week. We don't open Sundays either. Um, so yeah, with that sales assistant, we have multiple sales assistants that some work 1 or 2 days a week. They cover for one location only, maybe because with with the area that we cover, the same sales assistant can't always go uh, travel a distance, right? It's too
Hmm.
far. So we do have 1 or 2 locations that have a dedicated sales assistant, or they just work there 1 day a week to give the sales rep. a break. Then we would have one full-time assistant that, pretty much every day of the week they're at a different location.
I see.
So that's how
So,
we do
so,
that.
so everybody gets their day off at
Yep.
least throughout the 6 days, and then of course Sunday they're off.
Yep.
Well, it's one thing that I've found going from one location to then multiple locations. The operations just it's such a huge difference, in the overall, I think workload, and that's one thing to speak to what you're doing as sales manager there. I've heard very good things about how you run your operations there and all that, and that's kudos to you for doing such a great job at that. And I do believe Westwood Sheds has been one of those that is, very prominent in the industry as far as how you run everything there and the operations across the whole board of everything. Your trucks look really nice, and at the Shed Haulers Bash, I've seen them there, and different things like that. So excited to have you on here. Is there anything that you would want to put out to the shed industry from Westwood Sheds?
I mean, I didn't really have anything prepared, so not
Sure.
really. We don't like when it comes to management. We definitely the guys that we hire, guys and gals we hire to put on our locations. They are hired as managers for that location, so they do a lot of things that you would maybe typically wouldn't expect. But they order all their own inventory for the location. Because a good sales rep will know what goes in that area, right?
Mm-hmm.
They'll have a good pulse on what their customers are needing, and so we put that in their hands to order. So for me, it makes it easy because then it's just I just got to look at it and approve it, and send it on to our production side. So
What do you use for ordering? Do you guys use Idea Room or Shed Pro or Shed Suite or anything of those, or do you even want to say?
yeah, no, we use Shed Suite. That's who we're with
Okay.
right now. That's what we're using. It works great. Um, Shout out to Jason.
Yeah.
We've been working with them for a
Seems
long
like this.
time.
I liked his color scheme, so I was wearing that.
Yeah.
I thought about
Yeah,
putting
I
the
see
making
that.
sense. But hey, that's Jason's got a great program there, and we use Shed Suite in our locations where we're selling
Okay.
Eternity buildings, and
Okay.
Andrew and Gary. They took that over last year and have been, how can I say, blown it out of the water as far as sales down in Florida there, and
How are
so
you guys liking Shed Suite? Like, how are you liking it?
so our employees, when they started in using Shed Suite and our salespeople, it was kind of a little bit of a learning curve because we were used to using Shed Pro and RTO Nationals DMS
Yeah.
for our systems, and so when you jump from one to another, change has always got a little bit of
Yeah.
a road bump because you got to learn how the system works and such. But
Yeah.
I think the more that we're using it, the more that we're becoming accustomed to it, and it's kind of turning into seamless on that. So once you use something a little bit, it's like riding a bike. Then you can just hop
Yeah.
on and
Yeah.
run with it. Now,
Yeah.
from the back end
Yeah.
perspective, I would ask Andrew to answer that question.
Yeah. So Shed Suite is great. But real quick, the Sunday thing. Is there a lot of shed lots that are open on Sunday? If you are, or your opinion, click the link, join the conversation, comment, let us know. I just assumed all shed lots were closed on Sunday. Maybe I'm wrong. But I do have a question that came in, and I will ask this question to Peter. And just so we all on the same page, Lloyd, I know sometimes people ask questions and you maybe not want to give the information away because this is live, so there is no take backs. I said the wrong thing, but there was a question that was sent in. So I'll ask Peter, and that is, are the sales people paid commission or hourly? And how does that work? What do you see the benefits in both? I can say for myself, Commission drives the needle. When you put an incentive behind it, you're going to see. I don't care if they're your best friend or your spouse. I don't care who it is. When you put a dollar or a commission out there, it's going to drive sales. But I'll direct this question to Peter. Lloyd, if you want to, you're welcome to jump in if you want to, but if not, get it. It's live, so we don't want to
Right.
share too much of our.
So I'll jump on it. And Lloyd, I know time frame wise, we don't want to hold you. I know you're busy as well, but I'll answer this. And if you have to go, just let us know. We don't want to hold you too long, but thank you for calling in. So when we started out, like my initial start into the shed industry, I was paid hourly. And then my boss came to me and started giving me incentive options, not commission, but just like bonus goals. Like if you sell this, we'll give you a bonus. And that's kind of how I was introduced into it. So commission was never one of those things that I had really gotten into until I became an owner. And when we started, we kind of ran with the same, when we started multiple locations, we ran with that same theory of hourly plus a bonus, a tiered bonus for our salespeople. And then we've kind of changed that into new employees that we hire, or new vendors, I should say. We hire 1099 salespeople, and we do a straight commission. We do offer sometimes how can I say, a draw, because everybody who's selling also knows there's sometimes you got to pay the bills throughout the week or throughout the month. And so we do draws on some of our employees, and some of them, or I should say vendors, and some of our vendors say no, we just want to wait until the end of the month and we get our whole check. But that's how we do it at our lots.
Yeah. For us, we do commission only. That's the way we're structured now. The sales assistant that covers some of our locations, they are paid hourly. So the sales assistant that fills in a day a week at each location, they're paid hourly. But the sales location managers, sales reps there are 100% commission. It In the early days, we had done well, actually, when I first started selling, we had done a model where it was kind of like a draw, like a guaranteed minimum weekly. But I mean, I had that for about 2 months, and then I actually when I was selling, I chose to switch to commission only, just because the incentive was higher, and we make it part of our interview process. If that scares you, commission only, it's probably not a good fit. If it inspires you and it's what you want, then more than likely you're a good fit. So
I got a question for
Yeah,
you.
absolutely.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Peter.
On the when you have interviewees, this is what I've noticed, because we put out, we use Indeed for hiring and stuff like that. We'll set out, and we say on the actual job description, commission only, and we get a lot of people that are from the car industry reach out to us. Do you see the same thing when you're hiring, like people from the car industry reaching out because of it being commission only?
Yes. We've had in the last several years, I've done a bit of hiring here, and honestly, at least half of the people, 3 of them, were car guys. Commission only was not scary to them. They understood it. They wanted it. And they're selling sheds, and the most common thing I hear from them is, "Why didn't we know about this industry a long time ago?" Because to them, it's easy.
Right.
The car business is a grind. I mean, it's the stories I hear from them. I've never sold cars. I never worked in a dealership like that, but sounds like a pretty tough environment sometimes. And put those guys on a sales lot, and they manage it well, and man, they're killing it. So.
Right. I hear 60 hours plus a week,
Yeah.
very common in the car industry. And that's the one thing is like, I don't know what your hours are, but during the summertime, I feel like staying open later would probably be a beneficial thing. You could almost have like a summer hours versus a winter hours. Just because, if you close your doors at 5 o'clock, most people get off work at 5 o'clock. So if you can stay open a little bit later, then you have the potential of getting somebody after work coming in
Yeah,
to buy.
we played around with that a little bit, and it's something we want to do more this year. Um, we have actually largely left that up to the rep that's running the location. We have an amount of hours, the store needs to be open. But as far as, some will do 10 to 6, some will do 9 to 5, just kind of
Mhm.
an 8-hour day. But quite a few of them are choosing in the summer to go to either like 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the evening. Just to your point, I mean, that's exactly right.
Yeah,
More daylight hours.
I found it interesting. Last week I was in our Dalton, Georgia location, and we closed, and I was staying late a little bit, a little later. This was literally an hour and a half after we closed. There was a vehicle come pulling in, and there was uh, two, a grandfather, grandmother, their daughter, and then the grandchildren. So there was three generations that come piling out of the two different vehicles, and we were able to, design the building, and we were working on that. Like as far as the lead goes, we haven't closed it. I wish I could say we closed it, but we have it in our pipeline, and we're working towards
Yeah,
closing that.
yeah.
So yeah, the timing
Yeah.
definitely was interesting.
So with the whole thing with operations and having multiple lots or even operations of one lot, I think the
Mhm,
biggest thing is the hiring process. And so,
mhm.
like you said, Lloyd, in that interview question, is commission, how it works. And I know a lot of people don't know what commission is, and sometimes we hire, salespeople. That's their first sales job, which nothing wrong with that. We all start there. But once you explain it and you say, you have the potential to, this is what your average person makes, or you can take the, $15 an hour. If they say, I'll take the $15 an hour, that's usually a yellow, red flag, flashing stop sign. That's probably not the motivated individual. The other thing that I like to ask is because, again, when you don't get a lot of times, if you have multiple locations, I had stores in multiple states, so I couldn't drive up there for every interview, but I wanted to at least talk to everybody. So I was doing a Zoom interviews, and another question I like to get is because it's hard to get somebody's personality or experience through Zoom, right? And so the other question I like to ask is about their previous employer. How was it with your previous employer? And if they go on about how their previous employer was terrible and they hated them and they're crooked and they stole from them, again, that's typically, you got to put yourself in that shoes because eventually they're going to leave you. Everybody does, and so you don't want that. And so
Mhm.
the interview thing is I think the biggest step in business that a lot of people overlook. We just kind of, a lot of times we have an opening, we're like, okay, we need to hire somebody. Okay, you're hired. And what I've learned is, in worst case scenario, even if you have to shut your lot down for a couple days to find that right person, it's worth it because people are very valuable, and we have great people on our team, and you got to kind of look for those people. But it's a big step. um, I know, Peter. I think you said you use Indeed as well. I know we do too. It's an expensive part of the business process, but it's also very valuable. So I would like to hear. We have a couple comments. I got to share one here in a second. But is where are you guys finding your people at? Are you using Indeed? Are you using Facebook? What's your method? But Peter, I just learned this out on this platform. I can actually share the comments live. So this comment came in at 3:04, Peter. So this is for you. Peter Boyle says, "Just tell us."
Oh, Lloyd,
So that's that,
I will say one
that's
thing about
referring
the
to Peter Miller.
Yeah, so the Boyles are notorious for hammering down on a subject. It's like a pack of wild dogs. As soon as they
uh,
smell blood, it's like they're gonna attack. But no, going back to the topic at hand, I would say Indeed has been our top place to get uh, um, talent. The other way has been word of mouth. When we talk to somebody, um, had kind of some bad experiences when you hire friends, especially if they're the same office. We've dealt with basically one covering the other person, and without cameras and watching the situation, they were basically opening the lot, um, clocking in. At that time, they were hourly, and then locking the door, leaving, and then coming back later, clocking out, and no one was there for the whole day. So yeah, you want to be. Cameras are really important, I think, in business to keep your people as far as keeping an eye to make sure things are running the way they should be. At least that's what we do in our lots.
yeah.
Hey,
On the
Lloyd.
higher, yeah. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. I don't want to hold you on here too long. But one last, you finish your thought. But one last question for you is do you have any tips or tricks for a hiring process, or maybe again, I don't want you to give away too much information, but something you found successful on your end?
Well, I mean, I don't feel like I have any secrets, but I think the thing with hiring is I know exactly what you're talking about. Where we went through the whole thing in the beginning of who do you hire? You need someone in a sales lot, and you're like put the word out, and somebody says, hey, I'll sit there, and you hire them, you put them in, and you try to train them how to sell and all of that. I've been around that rodeo several times, and so one of the things that I looked at and really started about 2 years ago for me personally is kind of building out my process, like what works for me in hiring. And I turned to Indeed. That's where I went and got an account and just started put out a job description and commission only. And we I think I put a little bit of money behind it because you can boost them, put them out there, and um, I was just amazed at the amount of people that responded. Like, and there was some really qualified people that filled out this application. And then I was like, man, now I got to interview these guys. How do I interview them? Some of these guys have more experience than I do selling. So it was an eye-opening experience. But one thing is like one thing that stood out to me is that there's a lot of good sales reps out there looking for a good place to work. And the shed industry, in my opinion, from the guys that I've talked to, coming from what I would call a big corporate sales model, take car sales, furniture sales, whatever. Um, they are ideal for our industry. They understand the sales process. They understand commission sales, and you just got to teach them your product. And that's really I have focused on the last few years. Is that's who I'm looking for, and it's a pretty simple set of um, criteria, I guess, that I'm looking for. And if those guys apply, and obviously it's got to be culture fits, because some of those guys aren't going to be culture fits. They've been affected, by the industries they're in. But yeah, it has worked great. And what I hear from the guys that we've hired is, man, they really wish they would have found the shed industry a long time ago, because it's simple. Customer service is completely different than what they're used to. They have a problem, it'll just be taken care of.
Right.
Where in some of those other places it's not. So my personal process is I do an Indeed listing and get a bunch of applicants, and then I'll meet them out at the sales location. I'll set up maybe a 5 or 10 minute personal interview. So I drive out to the sales location that we're hiring for. I have them come in. We have a 5 or 10 minute conversation, and out of that pool of maybe 20, it might be 20, might be 30 people. I'll pick maybe 4 or 5 of them that fit our culture and seem like a good fit, and then we'll have them back for a second interview, a little bit longer. And then we'll have them in for a third interview, and the third interview is with myself and Ryan and Joe, the other managers here, and sometimes with the owners as well, Mike and Arlen. You guys probably know them. But yeah, it's 3 interviews until the hiring actually takes place.
I like that threefold, because then if somebody, if one of you guys miss something, maybe somebody else can then like spot it before it actually becomes something that you have to deal with as a vendor or employee.
Well, and to that point, like when they actually come into our main office here, our corporate office, typically in that interview, I don't say much because I've already talked to them out at the location up to 2 times. So I don't say much. The other guys ask questions, and I just get to sit there and watch. And what that does is it kind of puts you in a different mindset. You've heard what they've said to you out at the locations. Now you're seeing how they're interacting with your coworker, which my manager, my co-managers here, and with Mike and Arlen. Like, so they'll sometimes ask the same questions I ask, and I get to hear and see those responses. And so far it's worked. I mean, it's not, we're always learning, right? Always.
Well,
Yep.
I like listening to books because I do a lot of driving, so reading books is a little bit difficult, at least to take the time to do it. But when I'm driving, I can listen to them. One of the latest one I've listened to is called Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. And I find it interesting, like what you're talking about and what he talked about when they would do FBI negotiations. They would have the one person doing the negotiations, but then they would have 2 or 3 other people just listening. And what you heard, they didn't necessarily hear. And so, like, you asked the same question that now somebody else in management has asked, and you're hearing the response. And like he said, if somebody lies, it's hard to say the same lie over twice, especially if it's separated. So you kind of get the honesty and the integrity of the individual that you're interviewing. But I don't know, Andrew, as far as timing wise here, I know we're running a little bit long, and Lloyd, I really, really appreciate your time on getting on here. You guys are doing a great job there, and definitely thank you for hopping on. You're welcome to join anytime. This is for the shed industry, and we really appreciate your time, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again. I've enjoyed it. I love talking sheds and sales, and yeah, I like what you guys are doing with the Shed Sales Summit and all of that. I think keep it up. We need more of that in the industry, and yeah, good stuff.
Well, we'll do our very best
Thank
to,
you
I
so
promise.
much for getting
All
on.
right. You bet. Thanks, guys.
Talk to you later.
So, Peter, before we wrap up for the day, speaking of operations, well, maybe we lost Peter, but the biggest red flag, maybe this will be a question for next week for our listeners out there, is what is the biggest red flag that you have when you are in the hiring process? I kind of told you mine about the previous employment. There you are, Peter.
Sorry about that.
Before we went, Peter, I was going to ask you, what is your biggest red flag when you're doing an interview? What is one thing that is just a no-go, stop, do not pass go?
Yeah. So if they first thing they ask about is when their next raise is, I think they're focused on the money. That's one of the things, and then how they talk about their previous employer.
Absolutely. Well, we are almost out of time here, folks. We really appreciate you getting on here. We do have a comment that just came in that says, just tell us. We'll stay tuned. We'll let you know next week. But we're going to be releasing very, very soon the speaker for the Shed Sales Summit. I'm telling you, don't want to miss it. I think every time I talk to Peter, he talks about this person. You're all going to know who it is, and the success story is crazy. So we're releasing that soon. Please follow us on the Simply Shed Talk group, the Shed Sales Summit, and Making Sales Simple Facebook pages. Turn that notification on, and you'll get notified when we go live. I know we are a little bit late today, but stay tuned. Click that button, you'll get notified. But thank you guys so much for joining us, and we will see you next week.
Thank you. See you next week.